Welcome back, my fellow battle brothers and sisters. As we close in on the end of the year, I figured I would make this a lighter video, but one with a noble spirit, worthy of a festive season. A video where I, and I guess you guys too, can look back and reflect upon the hobby efforts of the year past, followed by a brief outline on the hobby goals for the year to come. And I figured a fun way to recap the year's projects would be to run down my top 9 projects of the year. So let's begin.
Number 9.
At number 9 is the Leviathan Captain, which ended up becoming the Firekeeper's first company captain. While I suppose the base could be considered as converted, the modification to the model itself is mostly just a kit bash. Though, this is a kit bash that hits just right. Adrax's hammer, a spare storm shield, and a Tartaros Terminator helmet really ratchets up this captain's majesty. New things I tried on this one. The cape pattern. I wanted to add interest to his cape, but not to take away from the first company color of white, and so I went with a black and white flame pattern, inspired by the 4th Hokage's cape from Naruto. I think it turned out great, yet again proving inspiration can come from unexpected places.
Number 8.
Number 8 features Gengar's spot on this list, and another unit from the Leviathan box. It's my reposed Screamer Killer. While subtle, there was some green stuff in that went into this guy to allow his pose to work. It's a model which surprised me with how popular it was on my Instagram feed, but I guess it's due to its strong memeability. Some people see a flexing Carnifex, and some people see a hugging Carnifex. But really, I just wanted to ensure I didn't put two models down side by side with very distinct, identical poses.
Number 7.
In spot 7 is the Chaos Lord Hoenn Vondar of my Aeonic Runes Wordbearers chapter. He's a Tzeentch-marked Chaos Lord. He has wings capable of flight and is possessed, but has rules for neither. Regardless, completing a unique character for my Wordbearers collection was a small but sentimental goal.
Number 6.
Taking spot 6 is the very cool Tactical Squad. How do I feel about Primaris?
I hate it, but I love it.
With respect to this project, I love the proportions and sculpt quality of the range, but I absolutely loathe how rigid and arbitrary the war gear and transport options are ruled in game. It's a real bad case of framing the narrative based on how product is sold, but I digress. This project is my answer to that. I mean, why wouldn't a modern chapter of Space Marines make use of a tried and true battlefield role? And while Tacticus armor would probably be the natural choice for such a project, Phobos just feels more tactically flexible, and the pose variety of the Incursor's kit certainly adds more tactical flavor.
Number 5.
In spot 5 is the war boss known as Big Boss. What's there to say? He's a legendary soldier, the only one to surpass the one with the codename Boss. It's an RTL-W sculpt, which has some subtle green stuff conversions to make it look like Venom Snake from Metal Gear Solid 5. I have a whole video dedicated to this guy on my channel, so go check it out if you haven't already.
Number 4.
Earlier this year, I hammered out a bunch of tanks for the Firekeepers. And while several of the tanks are converted and feature the Firekeeper's signature tank tusks, if I had to pick one, it would have to be the one so large it barely fits. Taking up the 4th spot is the Firekeeper's Lord of War, the Astraeus Grav tank. Adding a Lord of War was on the to-do list for the Firekeepers for some time, and I oriented such a goal with an organized event I held with my local playgroup, one which used my mission pack for all tank battles, which I refer to as Tank Hammer, which was also featured on Mini Wargaming in a 2-part battle I had with Luca. As for the Astraeus itself, well, I painted it the way I paint all my Firekeeper's armored units. Panel shading with brush. But of course, compared to regular tanks, the Astraeus is bigger. Much bigger. But I think it's all the more impressive for it.
Number 3.
At number 3 is the Voidwalker Captain I made for the model swap with Sultan. This one is a rather simple kit bash, giving the Gravis Captain a custom sword and an option for a storm shield. The Voidwalker Captain is in number 3 because A. It marks something of a level up in skill for myself. I really tried to up the ante on the layering of tones to create smooth blends, and I feel it came together brilliantly. And B. It's probably the coolest collab I've done on the channel, for which I have a dedicated video, so go check it out if you haven't already. And you may as well go check out the custom Biker Captain Sultan did up for the Firekeepers as well. New things I tried on this one. Quartered color schemes. I've never painted a quartered power armored scheme until this model, and despite my preconceptions, I found the process surprisingly enjoyable.
Number 2.
Taking the number 2 spot is the most recent model I've completed on this list, a Bealtan Wave Serpent. There is no conversion work here. I just find it deeply satisfying to see all the elements of a project take shape. From laying down the green gradients, for which the Bealtan project is making use of an airbrush, to applying the bramble patterns, to applying the Bealtan decals, and giving an old model a modern spin by giving it a larger base, one that just so happens to let the army's basing scheme shine. It all results in a model which really exemplifies the Basalt Bealtan army.
Number 1.
And claiming the number 1 spot on this list isn't even a Warhammer model. My favorite project of this year is painting up Psylocke's model from Marvel Crisis Protocol. Admittedly, I am quite fond of Psylocke. Not only does she have some great assets, but she is a pretty cool character as well. But, jokes aside, this model gets my number 1 spot because it marked something of a crossing as it relates to skill level. For starters, this was a first for painting a model in a scheme simulating low lighting. I find what really sells it are both the shiny texture of the supersuit and the rendering of her hair. This model also served as a first for incorporating an object source lighting element, in this case the pink lighting coming from her Psyblade. And thirdly, and perhaps most important, was the execution in painting a stylized face, which for me is an extremely satisfying victory, acquired only through taking on the project. And so those were my top 9 projects of 2023. As for goals for 2024, well, I have a few. The first will be seeing through the Bealtan Army project, which is already in progress. More on that coming soon. After that, I plan to shift gears and get around to bringing the Wordbearers to a standard I feel satisfied with. My Wordbearers collection seems to be the project I am always being pulled away from, and stating this goal in a video like this is my attempt to keep me accountable to staying on track. Just look at this converted Slaanesh Disco Lord I have nearly finished in my pile of shame. Look at how happy he is. I feel like I owe it to him, you know? And lastly, I would like to finish updating the war gear of the Firekeeper's Chapter Master I had previously finished. I'm planning to keep his relic Eviscerator, but I want to replace his double-barreled Melt-A-Gun, as I felt it was too special snowflakey. And I'd like to complete his command squad as well, as of course, any worthwhile Chapter Master ought to have a worthy honor guard. Well, that's a wrap on this one. If you made it to the end, thanks for watching. And a special thanks to Julius Maximus, as well as my other generous patrons and channel members. So tell me what were your favorite hobby projects which you accomplished this year in the comments below. And I'll also invite you to share your hobby goals for 2024 as well, and we can all strive to see them through in the new year. Anyways, there are buttons for liking, sharing, and subscribing, so press the buttons you want to press, and I'll catch you in the next one.